The purpose is not the reporting of the data. That is not the goal. It is not to report on the data. It's not even the collection of the data. The purpose is the decision, where everyone forgets, is the most important part of that whole process. What decision do we make based on the data that we're getting? The data indicating we are on track, off track, whatever it is in relation to that target. Hey guys, welcome to the Painter's Circle, where we help painting business owners scale their operations, increase profitability, and gain more time freedom. I'm Taz Mullis, and in this podcast, I'll share actionable tips, expert strategies, and real-world insights that'll help you grow your painting business without burning you out. Ready to take your painting business to the next level? Let's go. Oh yeah! Have you ever felt like you're really busy, you're doing a ton of work, but you just don't seem to be getting the results that you want to get? I mean, you may be in a team, you may have a team, you may have a small team, and you're working, you're doing all the things you've been told to do. You're listening to podcasts, you're reading the book, you're following some instructions, and it looks like you're doing everything and you're getting overwhelmed with all the work that you're doing, but you just don't seem to be getting the outcomes from all that activity. Last week, a client of mine called me up and said, Taz, I need some help because I've got a great team and we're doing all the work and we're catching up and having these meetings and looking at the reports and setting clear actions for the weeks ahead, but the results just don't match the effort. In whatever you're doing in your business, you have where you are right now and some activity and where you want to be, and what you're working on really is the gap between those two things. And I couldn't see or hear the gap on this phone call. So I said, mate, let me come down. I can come down on Friday and spend some time with the team just so I can listen to what you do in the meetings, what you're tracking, the reporting, the projects that you're working on, and hear how those meetings are being done, how the project is being run, and what the gap is. I sat down with the business owner for a little bit just to understand his frustrations. The frustration was, we're busy, we're doing a lot of stuff, but we're not hitting our targets. In this instance, they're not hitting the revenue targets, which means they're not hitting their profit targets. You know, they have the meeting, they set the KPIs, they go out, they come back, and they're nowhere near it. Now, in your business, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of activity, and we get overwhelmed because what is the most important things to know, track, and do? You have to know your numbers, but not all numbers are created equal. We have critical numbers, we have important numbers, we have urgent numbers, and we have general data that does affect the business. But the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 principle, is 20% of your activities and the reporting and the actions will produce 80% of the results. Now, if in your business you're focusing on the 80% that produce the 20% results, you're always going to feel like you are busy, being busy. There are some critical numbers. When I say critical, it's like we have oxygen. You probably can hold your breath for 2 to 3 minutes. After that, you're going to be in a bit of pain. So what are the critical numbers in your business that are like oxygen? Then you're going to have numbers that are like water. How many hours, days, probably not even a week, you can last without water. So there's going to be some numbers in your business that are like water. So important, but not as critical as oxygen. Then you have numbers that are like food. You last a few days or a couple of weeks without food. And then you can have sleep and exercise and things like that. Now, if you are doing the work, tracking, reporting on a bunch of numbers, you're going to get overwhelmed. And if you're not focusing on the critical numbers that actually move the needle in your business, it can almost feel like you're not getting the outcome. Remember, the outcome is going to be on the back end of moving the right numbers. Now, if you're moving the numbers that move the needle a little bit, it's going to be so incremental, it's not funny. If you're focusing on sleep, but you're not breathing, you're going to die. Same in business. If you're not focusing on the critical numbers and you're focusing on other activities that aren't as critical. Now, I'm not saying that there's numbers that aren't important you don't track, but there's a hierarchy of data. Now, I want to break down some basic ones that I feel are critical in understanding how your business is performing. So when I was down in Sydney, we went through everything and we had to actually discuss a couple of the roadblocks. Some of the languages was a bit mixed up between the team members. So in this business, they thought they were doing sales, where really they were doing estimates and quotes. They were mixing up those words, estimates, quotes, and sales. So when a job came in, like a work order from a client, they assumed in the business that that was a sale, but it's not a sale because in their business, it has to get reviewed and quoted. Now, if it gets quoted back at 50, it gets accepted as a sale. If it costs more to do it and it's a 55K, they have to go back to the client and say to the client, it's actually 55K and has to get approved. So it's not a sale until it's approved. But they had this language because in the sales team, they were talking about, I made 250 sales last week. How come the pipeline's not full? But once we identified that that wasn't actually a sale, it was 250 grand worth of work orders that had to be assessed, estimated, and sent back for approval, we realized, one, we are tracking the wrong metric. One department thinks it's sales, but in the business, it's actually estimates and quotes. In your painting business, your leading indicators, a basic way of understanding what a leading indicator is, what are the activities that you do that move the business in the right direction, hence leading. So number of leads and quotes. So your first indicator in your business is how many number quotes did we do this week, this month? Your first metric is that number. That is the number you can improve. The second critical metric is how many and what value of those quotes did get accepted. By default, you will probably win 10% by accident. Do not mistake sales with revenue. This is another problem. A lot of people mistake sales with revenue. Sales is potential revenue. It's not actually revenue yet. You have to convert that sale into a schedule and into a delivery and into an invoice. So your second important metric is going to be the number of sales and the dollar value of sales within a time period, the week or month. And then when you have the number of quotes and number of sales, you divide them, you get a conversion rate. A lot of painting business owners I talk to overcomplicate conversion rate. Your conversion rate is a percentage. You don't bank percentages, you bank dollars. So dollars is more important. However, the conversion rate is a great indication of are you tracking up or down? It's more a tracking, not an important number to always measure every single day because it's a moving target every single day. It's really important that you understand these. This is not a daily activity, at least on a monthly activity, how you're performing. Because if your outcome is X amount of revenue, X amount of net profit, it's going to come directly from the amount of jobs you quote, the value of the jobs you quote, the number of jobs you win, and the value of the jobs you win, and the rate and the time frame that you win them by. No different than if you're driving a car and you're heading somewhere. It'd be great to know how fast you're going, and if you have fuel in the car, just as important. I don't want to go down too many levels because I can hear people going, well, Taz, doesn't it matter how we're performing on pricing? Well, it does. But it's not the most important thing because if you're not winning jobs now, there's nothing to optimize in pricing. You're focusing on the wrong thing. The right thing to do is to focus on the thing that moves the needle first, then you correct and optimize later. So in your business, we've just identified quotes, value, number, sales, value, number, conversion. If you would imagine a seesaw, and on one side of the seesaw, you have quotes and sales, and the other side of the seesaw, you have production or delivery, doing the work. Right in the middle of that seesaw is scheduling. All that means is what amount of work is getting booked in? That's the very first question, right? And I'll tell you why this is a critical metric. Because it's the oxygen. It needs X amount of money, cash flow, to pay the bills to break even. Without the oxygen, cash flow, the business will suffocate and die. Critical. So your scheduling point is, are you scheduling to two things? Are you scheduling to the capacity of your team? And does the capacity of your team meet and exceed that number? If you have a requirement of 20K per month to break even, but the requirement is that $35,000 per month of revenue, pays all the bills, pays all the suppliers, pays you market value for the service that you offer, and the business is profitable because your business is a separate entity to you. The business, in my opinion, should be a profitable enterprise. So you're taking the risk. It should actually have a bit of profit at the end. If that's the requirement and you're not scheduling $35,000 per month of work, it's unlikely you're going to hit that number. You're booked out, you're absolutely flat out, and you're not sure if you made money last month. The real problem is you think you're not working hard enough. Most painters feel like by working harder, doing more hours, doing more jobs, doing more marketing, grinding a bit harder, they're going to fix that problem. It's never about working harder, it's about working smarter. And you're never going to outwork a poor visibility problem. PainterOS Accelerator is built to end the guessing. It is a target hitting program. It's an ecosystem for business owners to come into to ensure, one, they've set the right targets for their business, and two, show them how to hit those targets. One thing I know to be true, having coached hundreds and hundreds of painting business owners, once we're able to give the right information at the right time to that business owner, they typically know what to do. This fills that gap. The number one thing we want to help business owners is having predictable and consistent revenue and run profitable businesses. We have a tool called Tradie Pipeline. Its primary purpose is to show you and teach you what are the targets that are right for you, how far off target you are, and showing you in advance your production capacity for the months or weeks ahead. We've coupled it with Painter Coach AI, which is like having a coach in your back pocket that can read that data and help you identify what is the next right move for you. And thirdly, there's the support. There's 90 days of onboarding support plus a community. This is not coaching, this is not a CRM, and this is not job management. This is an execution ecosystem where you go from being unaware of what you're doing to being crystal clear of what the targets are for you and your business and how to hit those targets, because I'm more interested in, are you moving towards those targets? When is it ready? It's ready now. If this is important to you, making money, better revenue, consistent profits, PainterOS Accelerator could be the right tool for you. Now back to the podcast. Scheduling will also drive capacity, because if you get more and more work, what happens? You start booking more weeks in advance. There's going to be a number of weeks in advance that you book out where people are going to say no, even if the price is right, because they don't want to wait, whatever that time frame is. It sucks to lose and miss out on an opportunity because we are unable to fulfill that capacity. We are the right fit, they are the right client, it is the right pricing, but we can't do it because we don't have capacity because of our scheduling and or team size or ability to do the work. I would rather lose on price because at least we're pricing into the market, but time, it's a little bit more controllable within a certain time frame. That is the next critical metric. That is the oxygen of your business. Now you need the fuel. So you need the water. The water is the leads. The water is the quotes. The percentage is how much you can get and how much you can get in and handle. The oxygen is your scheduling to capacity and scheduling to the business requirements. There's lots of other numbers that people track. From my experience, most people don't even track those ones. And if I ask them something like, how many quotes have you done this month? They go, oh, I don't know. That blows me away. What I'm doing for you is just breaking down critical milestones that have a number and a time frame so you can stop being overwhelmed by going, I need to know my numbers. Well, specifically, what numbers do I recommend you track? Now, in the back end of scheduling, once you schedule it, sometime in the future, you have to do the work. So now you have production. That is the next critical metric. Are we actually producing what we said we're going to schedule against what we won versus what quotes we're getting in? So step one, what is it? Step two, where are we? Step three, which is the most important part of that meeting, what are we going to do about it? And that seems to be the missing part when I'm talking to business owners. They can tell me they're winning a lot, losing a lot, but they can't give me an actual number. That's the majority of businesses. And what happens in there, you are always going to be reactive. You are always going to be stressed out and overwhelmed because you just don't know what is going on. And you're just luck. I got stuck at a desk once upon a time because I started analyzing numbers and I started tracking every single metric. I'm not just talking about the critical ones. I was tracking cost per lead per referral source. So how much it costs for a Facebook lead, cost per quote for every single referral leads. Don't mistake this for they're not reportable items. They are. After you've had a breath of air. and know your critical numbers and hitting your critical numbers. If and when you're hitting those critical targets and the business is accelerating and 80% of the work's getting done because 20% of activities are getting handled, then you can focus on the other stuff if and when you have time. But if you didn't, you will still be okay. You'll still be alive because guess what? You're breathing, you're drinking water, and you're eating. That's the most important three things. So there's a group of people that move into that zone and get stuck because they're looking at all these numbers and getting overwhelmed, looking at their GP, P&L, cost per sale, cost per click, everything, every single number. Again, I'm not saying they're not important, but they're not the most important. They get stuck in this zone and they forget the purpose. The purpose is not the reporting of the data. That is not the goal. It is not to report on the data. It's not even the collection of the data. The purpose is the decision, where everyone forgets, is the most important part of that whole process. What decision do we make based on the data that we're getting? The data indicating we are on track, off track, whatever it is in relation to that target. The most important part of the whole reporting of your critical numbers, or any number for that fact, is to provide the decision maker. It could be you, it could be your Google Ads team, could be your Facebook marketing team, could be your production team, could be your scheduling team, could be your painters, whatever it happens to be, is give them the data so they can make a decision. That is the whole purpose of having data, not data in it of itself. Hopefully that helps you in becoming less stressed, less focused on a shit ton of numbers, and understanding there's only a few key critical numbers in your business. What is the oxygen in your business that keeps you alive? What is the water that keeps you going? And what is the fuel that makes it less complicated? Stay cool, be well. See you in the next one. Hey guys, if you got value from today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss expert tips. If you want some support, check out the link in the show notes and see how we can help you. Don't forget to follow us on socials @PainterCoach. Stay cool, be well, and as usual, see you in the interwebs. Bye.